Hey guys, and welcome to another episode tutorial with me, Joseph Evans, author of the Secret Sequence books, The Phoenix Prophecy, The Ember Effect, Soulbound, The Secret of Rain, The Last Goodbe, and Glitch Girl. If you find my tutorials helpful and you'd like me to continue making them, please take a quick moment to check out my Patreon page and see the different ways that you can support me. If you do decide to support me, you can get a huge range of rewards as a thank you from me, including early access to these tutorials, voting on what tutorials I make, episode goodie bags, shoutouts for you and your stories, and even personal help from me. Okay, today I'm going to be showing you how to get tappable overlays into your stories, which is a really exciting new feature that allows a reader to press any of your overlays as if it were a button. Before I begin, I do have to point out that this feature is currently in beta testing, which means that some of this code may change in the future. If it does, I'll make sure to update you in the description of this video, so do check out the description if any of this doesn't work for you. Okay, there are many ways we can use tappable overlays, and I think one of the most useful will be choosing where you want to go in a story. Let's say our story is set on an island and we'd like to give the reader the option of visiting different locations on this island. Instead of having our character stand on screen with a list, which can look a little bit boring, we can now give the reader a wide shot of the island and allow them to tap the location they want to visit. I'm going to use this island from the official art catalogue for this example, and I've already created 3 overlays that look like buttons in Photoshop, depicting a beach, a temple and a villa. So first things first, I need to write the name of the official background that I'm using, then create my 3 overlays in the same way that I would create any regular overlays. So that's @overlay, then the overlay name, then the word create. And remember that for some reason, Episode defaults the opacity of each overlay that you create to 0, which means it's automatically invisible. So just remember to write @overlay, then the same overlay name there, and then opacity 1, just so you can see the thing. And repeat that for the others. And of course, we can always copy and paste to make our lives easier. And because these overlays have not been approved just yet, I am getting this error here. Please do ignore this. Now, since this is a 3-zone background, I think I'm going to choose the final zone, zone 3 over here, for these overlays because I can place my beach button around this mark, my villa by here somewhere, and my temple up on the hill somewhere here. So the next thing I want to put into my script is cut to zone 3. And we're going to want some kind of text that says, where would you like to go? So I'm just going to use the narrator for that. Okay, the next thing we're going to need to do is place our overlays in the correct positions. And to do that, we're going to need to preview our story. The first thing I notice is that my speech bubble is covering the area that I want some of my overlays to be. So let's just move that down to the bottom of the screen using the bubble helper. And copy and paste that code into the script just here. Then click on Overlay Helper. By default, overlays are placed in the bottom left corner of zone 1, so since I'm in zone 3, I'm going to need to drag each of them over. And I'll just click Change Overlay to select the others. Drag those over as well. And then I've got to copy those positions into my script. I'm going to put those directly underneath the point where I created them. You'll notice how it creates a load of random numbers before your overlays. I actually don't know why this is the case, and you can either leave them in there or you can delete them. Both ways still work. Because I'm going to keep this as simple as possible, I'm just going to leave it as is for now. Another thing is, if you are in any zone other than zone 1, you are going to need to place the zone into the position manually. So I need to write in zone 3 by here, in zone 3 by here, and in zone 3 by here as well. If you don't do this, these overlays will end up in these positions, but in zone 1 instead of zone 3. Okay, so far this has been exactly the same as if we were putting regular overlays into a scene, but this is the point where we make these tappable. First of all, we have to write the word tappable in all lowercase letters. Then hit the return key to go to the next line, open up a quote, write the overlay name, so beach button is my first one, close the quote, then open up a curly bracket, hit the return key twice and close the curly bracket. As you'll probably notice, this is very similar to the way regular choices work. In fact, the only differences are instead of the word choice, we have the word tappable, and instead of the text that would be in a dialog button, we have the overlay name. So just as with regular choices, we can fill these curly brackets with whatever we want to happen if this button is pressed. So if the reader presses the beach button, I want to take them to the beach and have their character enter the screen. Let's use ext Jezebel Island Beach Day. We'll say our MC is Aya, so we'll have Aya, she enters from left to screen center. And maybe I'll have a quick fade out and fade in just to make things a little bit smoother. For our other buttons, all I need to do is copy and paste all of this directly underneath and just change a few things. So this one's going to be Villa button, and I'll use the official beach villa background, which is Island Beach House Day. And I could also have Aya entering from the right this time just to change things up. And let's have that happen in zone 3 in this one instead. Copy and paste again for our third one. That's Temple button, and I'll use Jungle Lost Temple Day as that location. And let's have this happen in zone 2. Okay, let's see if that works. Awesome, all 3 of those seem to be working perfectly. So this is pretty cool, right? But what if we wanted to use the entire island instead of just this one side of it? Well, we can't zoom out because this is a 3-zone background, and it would create huge black borders above and beneath the image, and it would make everything so small that they probably wouldn't be functional. But tappable overlays include an incredible new feature, which is the ability to allow readers to pan between zones by dragging their finger. To do this, all we have to do is write something after the word tappable, and that is an opening square bracket, then the word pan in lowercase letters, then a colon, then a number 1, another colon, a number 3, and a closing square bracket. This means that the user will be able to pan between zones 1 and 3. If you want your readers to be locked to just zone 1 and 2, or even just zones 2 and 3, then just change these numbers accordingly. Okay, let's see what happens now. Look at that, guys. You can actually drag across the entire island. Amazing. And your readers will be able to as well. Brilliant. Let's get some more overlays in there. Before I started filming this, I created and uploaded a few more of these buttons, these being a cave one, a town one, and a jungle one. So I'm just going to add these in. Now let's begin the next preview in zone 1 just to make my life a bit easier. And now I can drag these around while panning at the same time. So I'll place the cave one in these cliffs here, the town one in this built up area just over here, and the jungle one up in these dense trees here. Now I've placed this jungle one in a spot that lies somewhere between zones 1 and 2, which would usually be a problem and wouldn't look very neat, but because the background is now pannable, it really doesn't matter. Everything looks smooth and fantastic. So I've just got to copy these positions into my script. And because these positions are in zone 1, there's no need to specify a zone for these particular ones. Okay, let's add in our choices and content for these with some more copying and pasting. Once again, I'm just going to change the overlay names. So cave button, and that one will be ext cave day. And of course that is a 1-zone background, so we'll delete the cut to zone 2. And we'll have it enter from the left, I think. And we'll have the town button. Let's use ext Spanish town square day. And we can leave that at cut to zone 2. and then our jungle button, and we'll use ext jungle pan day for that one, and maybe leave that one in zone 1. And let's test again to see if this works. Excellent. Okay, one final thing before I move on to a different example is if you zoom in before a panable choice, the reader can actually drag the scene around vertically as well as horizontally, which can look even cooler and allow for some really interesting tappable overlay scenes. The possibilities with this are endless. Using the same code, you could have a character standing on a street with tappable arrows, so the reader can choose which direction they want to go in. You could have maybe somebody in a store and a bunch of items appear that they can buy, and the reader has to tap on one to select it. Or how about having icons pop up when your MC meets a certain character, and you can choose whether you like them or not with a heart symbol or a cross. Every one of these things can be created using the exact same code as my island scene. All it takes is a little bit of intuition and imagination. Now, one specific thing that I want to show you before I go is how to use this feature to be able to tap on a certain character and select them. Now, this could be useful for many things. For example, tapping on a certain person to talk to them, or tapping on someone to perform a certain action like kissing them. Another use for this is selecting a character. For my example, I'm going to allow the reader to choose whether they want to play as a male MC or a female MC by tapping on them. Okay, so there's no actual way to tap on a character. What we're going to be doing is a kind of trick. We're going to be uploading a completely blank, transparent overlay, and we're going to place it over a character to give the reader the impression that they're tapping on them. I've already made a very small transparent overlay for this, and I've just called it blank. The reason it's very small is that the smaller file size an overlay is, the quicker it'll load. Because it's transparent, we can scale it up within episode, and we won't notice any pixelation because it's invisible. To save you guys the effort of creating your own transparent overlay, I'm giving you this one. Just check the description of this video for the link to the file. So I've made a very simple scene with Sekri and Aya standing still looking at the camera, and I've got a narration bubble saying, do you want a male or female MC? The next step is to get the blank overlay in there. So @overlay in all lowercase letters, then blank, then the word create. And of course, because we want this one to be transparent, there's no need to write @overlay blank opacity 1. Now here's the thing, we've got 2 characters but only 1 blank overlay. We need 2 separate invisible buttons, so it seems like we'd need to upload a second blank overlay and call it blank 2 or something like that. But along with this tappable overlays release comes a really useful new feature, which is the ability to make identical copies of existing overlays. This is a huge time saver and will come in very handy here. In fact, I'm going to leave blank just sitting there in the bottom corner, and from it I'm going to create my 2 buttons. Okay, to make the first copy, all I need to do is write @overlay and then whatever I want to call my mail button. So I'll just call it mail button. Then create, just like we would if mail button already existed in our art catalog. But after it, if I write from blank, this means it will create this overlay as an identical copy of this one. And let's do the same for our female button. And the next thing we need to do is save and preview, so that our overlays load up in the scene and we can scale and position them to cover each of our characters. So let's select our male button. We're going to scale that one up. And do the same for our female one. Move that one over here. And then of course copy these positions into our script. And now we need to make them interactive using the same code that I used for the island scene. So it's the word tappable, then a quote underneath, the overlay name, close the quote, open the curly brackets, return key twice, close that curly bracket, and copy and paste for our female button. And then for our content, I'm just going to have the narrator say, you chose a male MC. And just change that to female there. Of course, for an actual story where you can choose the gender of your character, you would need to add gains in here and if-else statements across all of your chapters, which is something I'm not going to go into here because it's going completely off the topic of tappable overlays, but this just shows you how you could create the selection scene at least. Alright, I think that is done. Let's save and preview. Yep, that works a treat. Okay guys, just one more thing to note before I go. Please remember that episode runs on a vast amount of different mobile devices with varying screen sizes, and some of them, especially iPads, cut off a lot of the top and the bottom of the screen. So if you place an overlay down here and your readers need to tap that to continue, if they're reading on an iPad, they would not be able to progress any further. Also, I've been told that there are issues with tapping overlays on certain devices when the overlays are quite small, so to be on the safe side, I would try to keep all of your overlays quite large and fairly central. However, if you do need to have overlays at the top, bottom or far edges of the screen, you can add in an else to the bottom of your tappable choice, just like this. And you could put something in here like having trouble with this tappable overlay, and then you could have a choice which says yes or no. The no could take you back up to this point, and the yes could allow the reader to progress further in the story by skipping this overlay scene. Alright, that is it guys, tappable overlays, an incredible new feature which really opens up the possibilities of what you can do on episode. If this tutorial has helped you in any way, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the helpful tutorials that I've got coming up, and if you'd like to support me and get some exciting rewards like early access to these tutorials and personal help from me, head over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/author Joseph Evans. If you have any questions about any of this, make sure to comment them down below, and if you know the answer to anyone else's questions in the comments, it would be great if you could give them a quick answer to help them out. Thank you so much for watching guys, good luck with your own tappable overlays, and I will see you all next time.